Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Laconia, New Hampshire. We're having a great time here at Joey Roberts' Generation Summits. Gosh, they're so fun. You've got to sometime try to catch the next one. The next one we'll be doing with Joey is in Ross, is in Mattoon, Illinois, at the first week of June. Man, try to get to that. They're crazy meetings. And then in July, it's going to be fun. We've got Paul Brady, Ross Roberts, Patsy Caminetti, myself. It's going to be so much fun. That one will be in Laconia as well, Laconia, New Hampshire. So kind of cool to have Patsy and Paul Brady, and there's a couple other guests that might be able to come that I can't announce yet, but they're working, trying to get their schedule worked out. But we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord. And this week we're here in Laconia having a great time. Meetings have been so good. The crowds have been so good. But the End of Days Update is all about what's happening around Israel that makes it show us that Jesus is just about to come. Because stuff happened this last week and there was not anything about it in the regular news, which I'm just blown away that things can be such a big deal. And our country doesn't really show it at all. So we're looking at those things that point to the second coming, because there's 80 some odd signs of the second coming, but the rapture is signless. So if we can look at what's going to happen just after the rapture, which that's the Ezekiel 38 war, and boy, things are setting up for that every single week. I think it surprises me, even though I'm doing this, I get shocked probably the last 3 or 4 months, especially, like, wow, that nation's coming into place, that nation's coming into place. Why is it a big deal? Jesus said, hey, you can tell what the weather's going to be, but you don't know your hour, your visitation. So he wanted them to know. And he also, when he came into town, the demons cried out and said, have you come to torment us before the time? So they knew that there was a time coming and Jesus was on a schedule, but he was early. So if demons can know, how much more the church. So let's pick up with what's happened around Israel this last week. And man, some crazy stuff has happened. I mean, probably the biggest thing is with Iran. Iran has gone into the edge of Israel with drones. Israel took them out, fired them, and blew them right out of the sky. That was kind of a radical deal. Israel responded with some drone strikes themselves and with some aircraft. And then in the next couple of days after that, Israel has done 4 airstrikes in the last week, hitting Iranian places. One place they hit had a bunch of Revolutionary Guard commanders there. All the other places were basically missile depots where they're altering the guidance systems for the missiles. So we're talking massive amounts with that. With that happening, you had Iran send a drone into one of the United States bases and fire at them. So we retaliated. So we've been doing airstrikes in Syria. So you got Israel doing airstrikes in Syria, the U.S. been doing airstrikes in Syria, and the U.S. did another airstrike. We killed the head of the ISIS commander of the northwest portion there of Syria. He was in charge of setting up terrorist attacks for Europe. So you've got a lot going on. And with that all happening, which there's a lot more, it's hard to get into all of it. With that all happening, you had Gaza firing rockets in the last couple of nights, 12 rockets. Israel's retaliated, sending planes down into there. So you got attacks from the Palestinians from the south, attacks from the Iranians on the north. So you look at Israel being surrounded. Why? It's Passover tonight. Tonight, Israel starts Passover at sundown. So the whole thought pattern of Israel looking like they're in chaos, their neighbors thought they could take advantage of it, but they can't, and Israel responded in kind. You even had Israel's cyber attack group get hacked by a cyber group, which that kind of scares me. But much more is going on. You've got America started training with their new hypersonic missile. That missile that will go about 3,000 miles per hour, 5 times the speed of sound. They've got that implemented right now, which is kind of cool. It looked like we were behind the Russians, but actually we've had it for a long time. We just haven't talked about it. But they're getting that completely set up right now. And you had North Korea tout how they sent that torpedo that had radiation. It creates a radiation tsunami in the water going up on land. So with that, you had earthquakes in Philippines, earthquakes in Indonesia, earthquakes a couple other places. And I'm like, man, this is just all radical what's going on. Probably the wildest thing is the Temple Mount. You had the Muslims riot. You had 350 Muslims that got arrested by Israeli police. Well, United Arab Emirates is going crazy. Jordan's going crazy. What's Israel doing policing the Temple Mount? Well, you had Palestinians throwing rocks and throwing fireworks at the police. Police responded with stun grenades. But everything is going to be about that Temple Mount. I mean, the Israeli police busted in there. You have the head of the Return to the Mount. Raphael Morris is kind of the head of the Return to the Mount system, kind of like the Temple Mount Institute. He got arrested. Actually, didn't get arrested. He got detained trying to have sacrifices there on the edge of the Temple Mount. You had another group that had a lamb ready for sacrifice. So, man, you remember I said the other day, well, get ready in April. All these groups are going to try to come together and start having sacrifices like this because, man, it's all happening right in front of our eyes. Why is that a big deal? When Jordan and United Arab Emirates says, okay, be careful about the Temple Mount, they're freaking out because it looks like Israel's trying to take over. They're not taking over, they're just policing it. So everything that's going to happen in the future, you'll see a lot more come out about Iran. America looks like they have a new basically a proposal for Iran to freeze some of their nuclear works if we would freeze some of the sanctions. And there they go again, basically getting their way at doing whatever they want to do. Because that's what the International Atomic Energy Agency said. Iran's basically doing what they want to do, and they're there. So some of the reports in Israel over and over again are blaming Netanyahu for Iran's got a nuclear weapon. Well, Iran got a nuclear weapon because of all the things that happened in the last 2 years. So, but let's pick up what the Bible says. We have all of this happenings that are radical, showing us we're that close with Russia, so much with Russia going on. But the Bible always makes things super clear for us. So we go back to it every end of days update. You have Israel restored as a nation in 1948. You got Jerusalem won back in 67. Jesus said the generation that sees those two events will not pass away till all is fulfilled. But then you've got the Hebrew language restored. You got the Ethiopian Jews brought back. You got the fertility in the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. I mean, all of these things are blatant. You have the Temple Mount Institute ready to have sacrifices. That's what we talked about this week. I mean, they have all the instruments ready. It's just amazing. 20,000 of Jacob's lineage sheep showed up. You have the red heifers, everything that they need. And you go on from there, you had foxes show up on the Temple Mount. You had fish show up in the Dead Sea. You had the Dead Sea turn blood red where Sodom and Gomorrah was. I mean, that's crazy. It happened on the Day of Atonement last fall. I told the Lord, you're just showing off now. This is wild. So all these things, men will be lovers themselves. We have selfie sticks. You have the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water. One thing after another, blatant, clear. What does that tell us? People say, well, the signs freak me out. No, the signs are there to bring you peace. They're not there to freak you out. So with all of the signs that we have, you have water shoot out of a rock in Petra where there is no water because the Jews are going to go there right after the rapture to get away from the Antichrist. So everything is happening right in front of our eyes, pointing to the coming of the Lord. So why do we get into this? Because He loves you so much. He wants you blessed. He wants you encouraged. He wants you excited. He wants you to accelerate. This is not about slowing down. This is about going faster. So with all this, you've got signals. You had the blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles, 4 in a row. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. 1948 when Israel was made a nation. Pretty crazy. 1492, the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. And then after that, you had the Bethlehem star. Pretty amazing. At the birth of Jesus, Jupiter, Regulus, Venus came together. And the constellation was Virgo. This last year, we had a celestial event, Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus, Bethlehem star, first time in 2,000 years. What was the constellation? Leo, he's the lion of the tribe of Judah. Listen, all of this stuff is coming together in our lifetime, right at the end of the church age, because Jesus is just about to come. Let's let the signs push us. Let's let the signs propel us to get as many people saved as we can. And let's accelerate with our pace, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, because the King's coming. Jesus of Nazareth coming back to the planet. Wow. We'll come back next week. We'll look at what's happening around Iran. I mean, with what's happening with Syria. With Israel doing 4 strikes in 1 week, we'll see what Iran's getting ready to do because they're probably going to respond in kind. Even last night, Iran sent another drone into Israel. Didn't even talk about that. So 1 more even came in last night. So it's all happening right before our eyes. Have a blessed week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the edu at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.